Guys, welcome back to the Omlay. I'm Megan Kieran, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Beth Lynch. She is the founder of Inner Light Teaching. She is an author, she is a psychic medium, and she is a teacher. Welcome, Beth.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on here today.
I'm so happy that you resonated with the podcast, and I think
hmm
there's some really important messages that are going to come through our conversation.
Yes.
So I just want to start with your spiritual background, your spiritual journey. How did this all start up for you?
hmm You know, when you're my age, which is well in the 60s, well in the 60s, you can look back and I can really see even as a child being curious, why am I here? 10 years old, putting out a question like that, which all of us do put out those questions, some at different stages in life, and some through really, big changes in life, like grief. As a medium, I see a lot of that's when people start asking those questions. But I remember as a child really being curious and not understanding why I felt things I felt and overwhelmed and, I was over emotional, which really is the empathy that, empathic energy. But when you don't understand that, and then being kind of, I would say, thrust into it at the age of 32, when my mom, I was dreaming, I was in a, sleeping, and I dreamt that her, over an intercom, I heard she was dead. And I woke up and I was crying and I went, what kind of dream was that? And I looked at the clock and it was 3:15 a.m. Now I can still see the digits. And I went back to sleep somehow. But then I, in the morning, got up very early to do my thing. And I heard on the car radio news that the Amtrak crashed in the middle of the night and my mom was on the train. Now, in that moment, I didn't really know. Oh my, here I'm going, oh my God, my dream. Now I'm hearing this on the news. I'm driving to call my sister. I'm heading to her house, and I hear my mom's voice tell me she's all right. She's happy. I'm okay. I'm
Wow.
happy. And immediately I felt like I popped back into my car seat. Like who drove in that, 3-second sentence? Well, that was the big catalyst to needing to understand and she did pass at that time. That's the train crashed. So I was energetically getting that message. And at that time, I did not
Mm,
understand that language, the word energy, spirit. I heard
right.
it more traditionally through Catholic upbringing, but I did not understand really the eternal life. So when you're kicked into it, like I know I was, and I went to a medium a year later. Angry. I
hmm
was still mad at God. Why is God doing this? Blaming, which
Yep.
is that is a conversation in itself.
Yeah.
Um, and then I went to a medium a year later and she looked right at me and said, Your, mother, my sister was with me. She said, Your mother's in the spirit world. Young lady, you're not using your gifts and abilities. And someday you're going to do what I do. And I'm looking at her like you're
Yeah,
crazy.
right.
In my head, you're crazy. And and I never experienced anything like that before. But then as the session went on, she says she'll guide you, she'll help you. And I'm like, I still didn't get that. But I
Right.
was a hairdresser. I was busy. I was a hairdresser for 20 years. I was good, so leave me alone.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but, it proceeded to become very clear our mother was in the room. And then I just started venturing out and wanting to understand meditation, tarot cards, energy, the word energy, meditation, meditation, meditation. And it just, here I am, 30 years doing it now. So it was about a 2-year process before I put down the scissors and really opened to surrender to help people on the level I do. So, but
That's
it's been
pretty
30.
fast.
Yeah, it was 30 years. And, part of my passion is to help people, you know, go through understanding the terminology. We hear the words law of attraction, energy, and I don't think people really understand it sometimes. And I think they have to understand those terms. And that's where my teaching comes in because I was put into that position through grief. And it doesn't have to be through grief that you awaken,
Right.
yeah. So that's where it all began.
Well, that is such a beautiful story. And for your mom to be the catalyst is so connected to, you know, your genetics, your ancestry, all of that is
Yeah.
so beautiful the way that comes through. And honestly, 2 years to follow your passion, that's not a long time. So kudos
No,
to you
and
for really
well,
taking that
what's
jump.
interesting and what I realized is looking back is even as a hairdresser, and I don't care what we're doing for work, our intuition is a very natural and powerful survival mechanism as a human being. And we always seem to categorize it as the spirit and the channeling, and we have to learn that the intuitive nature is so natural, and we're doing it daily.
Mm.
And when you open that window, the doors fly open. It's the way to say the metaphor, because it is happening and you are intuitive. And when people say I'm not intuitive, I'm not spiritual, I'm like, well, you're a spirit human in a human body. You are, trust me, don't worry, we won't argue that. But let's, and people want to do classes and stuff, and they start to develop an understanding of, wow, they've been feeling things all along. Then it becomes a beautiful natural thing, and it's timeless. You don't need, sometimes people are taking 20 different classes, and I'm like, your personal meditation time is when the real stuff goes down. Okay.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's about people taking their power back and stop it, seeking this external validation.
Yeah.
And it's just how society and culture has programmed us and built us to be, right? Always trying to get things from other people and this and that and working really hard for something. But like you said, when you just meditate, look within, you don't need a million courses. And
You
we
don't.
are all innately intuitive. I think that is so beautiful, and that's such a strong message that people need to hear. Because, when I started my journey, it was so easy to doubt myself. I'm sure everyone goes through that. But
Mhm.
when you really listen and you start to see the actual things happen and change in your reality, then, that's when the ball starts rolling. But I would love to hear more about the concept of we think of spirituality and intuition, and we think of spirit all up here, kind of with our third eye and crown chakra and all this woo-woo stuff. But you kind of mentioned like there's something deeper that will bring us even closer to that intuition, and it's really feeling. So can you kind of give me your perspective on that? Because I think
Mhm.
embodying the intuition is something that isn't talked
Mhm.
about as much in the spiritual community.
Yeah. I look at intuition again as that survival mechanism, but also my connecting, where I'm going to receive those I call divine downloads, whether it's for my own guidance, is it for those who call upon me? So when we look at the I think where I want to go with that is to really understand intuition. We have to understand our true nature, and our true nature is spirit. Whether people, it doesn't matter what faith you are, if you're science. When people get into the science of this, I say, look at Nikola Tesla said, you want to understand the secrets of the universe? You think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. He was a scientist, or, many few titles. And I remember reading that quote, probably about 25 years ago now, and literally crying, like getting that emotional and not under why is that making me so emotional? But then I started to observe it in all equations, in all questions. And this energy, when you look at it through energy, our spirit is our higher frequency energy. It's our consciousness that is, beyond whatever. It's energy, it's science there. But that's our spirit. So when we understand our spirit, we understand our intuitive natural nature. Our natural nature is intuitive, it is creative, it is compassionate beyond human potential. It feels connections to plants, to animals, to other people. It's the coping skills are in there, where we emotionally cope, and all of those things, the personality, the human expression, the self, as I like to quote unquote call it, that uses this human body, needs this source of energy to survive. Because look at the news. We're looking at separation from, you call it source, you call it your spirit, you call it who you truly are. That's dangerous. And we're learning it the hard way as a species. And it's a little heartbreaking, I'm telling you, as a spiritual teacher who I used to always see the potential. And I still do. I still do. But I've watched the percentage shift, and that's
Mm.
sad to me. So passionate, like what you're doing. I came across your podcast, or you came across me. I can't remember how we met, but it says it all. It's a vibration in the Om. There's nothing more beautiful than chanting Om. There is nothing more beautiful than just doing it. And it's like we educate, that's all we can do is keep educating. So I hope that answers your question, because I know I kind of went woo back a
Oh,
little.
yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot came through there as well. And yeah, Om is traditionally all of the sounds of the universe combined. And so I was
Mhm.
raised Hindu, although I'm spiritual now. I'm not,
Mhm.
I love all the masters out there. But Om itself has been something that has been ingrained within me. And it's interesting
Mhm.
because I have two very young children. They're 1 and 2, and Om has been a very peaceful, calming sound. It
Mhm.
always calms them down. And that brings me back to, I think people might question, okay, but what can I do? And that brings us back to Om, meditate,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
when you started, and maybe throughout your clients and people that you've helped, what has been the biggest thing that has helped them? Has it been meditation? And if so, what specifically were there any techniques that really helped? Because people just think sitting and doing Om is
Mhm.
just the only way to meditate. What's
Oh,
something they can
so
do
many
that's
ways.
deeper? Yeah.
So many ways. And that's something I teach, like mindful living, kind of, I call it. You try to mainstream some things. I'm up in the spiritual nature of it all more, but I do bring it down to ground, help people ground. But, when people come and I always look at meditation like this, and this is what I tell people. When you look at the word meditation, the first thing people will do is like, I can't stop thinking. I'm like, you're not supposed to stop thinking. You're supposed to be discipline your thoughts, which also means you are a disciple of your thoughts. And we have lost the ability through brainwashing and other things that are going on in the world to believe that we can't control our thoughts. And that's why I change it to discipline or be a disciple of, because control scares people. Well, I can't. Yes, you can. Don't say can't. Stop the certain inner dialogue is another thing I add to, like a mindful practice. And the word meditation, I always say, this is the word meditation. It's mediation between your perspective and your thinking to how you respond emotionally. And when you look at it that way, you're just sitting to slow down your thoughts, not stop thinking, slow them down, breathe, breath awareness. Don't call it breath work, call it breath awareness. Who wants to work? Nobody wants to work. It's
Mm,
subconscious sabotage. I tell people,
wow.
right? Yeah. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
it took me at my own evolution to come to these terms as well and learn and say,
Right.
don't say control, say discipline. And then the spiritual perspective in that is be a disciple of. And so when you look at meditation as you're mediating between your thoughts and how you feel, well, you're doing that anyway, whether you know it or not, you're doing that and everything. And you
Mhm.
better stop saying you can't, because that is dangerous to me. And
Yeah.
I've sat with kids, like I'm going to send you the link to my children's meditation that came to me when I was 3 months pregnant, meditating. I went through a journey of a little boy in a tree. I called him Donald after my dad in the spirit world. And now that's 27 years ago, by the way, and I'll send it to you and just play it for them. And it's just a little journey, and it balances this energy field chakras and controls emotional responses. Oh, you'll love it because you'll use it. So I'm going to send you the link, but it's on my website for anyone interested. But when people just learn that, looking at nature, breathing slowly, looking at the sky, looking at the water, what's around you, just
Mm,
slow down. I
yeah.
was notorious for saying I can't meditate, but that was 30 something years ago. I do meditate now every day, 5-minute meditations, and at the end, I'll give my website, because I give people, when they go to my website, 5 free meditations at immediate download. Donald's journey isn't in that one, but the tree meditation is, and that's where it begins, because that's when you have a personal connection to, your higher self, your source, the universe, God. The it doesn't matter what we call it, right? I mean, I was raised Catholic, but always felt Buddhist, but I didn't understand that at 10 years old. Oh,
Mm,
I was just like, I don't believe, and then I'm a teenager and I'm like, I feel more Buddhist. I didn't even understand Buddhism really enough to say I am one, but then it just went through meditation experiences I would have. I thought we're all one. Oh, there's the one, there's the Om, there's the I am. The words are there for us
yeah. I mean,
because
you
they have
said it.
energy. They have energy.
The experiences, I think, the most important thing. And that's
Hmm.
what meditation is, right? Like you can teach as much as you can to people and they can listen as much as they can, but until they actually do it themselves,
Hmm.
the outcome won't be as significant and you won't be as aligned with your higher self, which is really just that true part of you, your true nature. And any mindfulness activity where we slow down can be part of this meditative state, which
Hmm.
is beautiful. And also, back to the children's meditation, that is something that is so much more needed. So I'm going to link that also so people can go to that,
Hmm.
or,
Thank you.
your website as well. But as far as, after that, right? Like after we have our meditative practices, after our intuition starts to grow, the signs come in. I mean, for you, it literally hit you in the face in a dream that
Hmm.
happened in reality, right? You had a premonition of some sorts, and that was your huge awakening. That was that catalyst, that signs. But for other people, it may trickle in, right? Like they
Hmm.
may start to notice things and then develop their connection with spirit. What have you seen in your life and, those around you or your clients that have been these beautiful signs, if you can think of any examples, or in general, that it was like, it's hard to ignore. This is an obvious
Hmm.
sign from spirit, from God, from source, the universe.
Hmm. I think because of coming from the mediumship area strongly, it's why probably most people call me, and then they go on to learn and want to understand more and communicate only with their loved ones as well, is the signs that come, through like grief, when people start to trust, like, we hear the signs like the cardinal. All right, the cardinal is not everybody's sign. It isn't. That I
Mm,
can go months without saying cardinal, from a loved one. Um, but there will always be things like that get you to feel emotional. It's the numbers. A lot of people feel numbers. They come across the 1111, the 1212, the 444 angel number. Um, 333s. I mean, everything has numerology is intriguing to me, but I'm not a numerologist. But you can always Google those things. But I do know, like, when people they'll say they start getting, they can see these numbers all of a sudden, the car that cuts you off on the highway, and you have that moment, and then you look at the license plate, and there it is, 444 or 1111, or and you're like,
yep.
oh, that's a blessing, that's a sign. And the signs, I always tell people, when you look at signs, they're going to come naturally. They're going to come sometimes. I had a guy last night was channeling for his wife. He was in spirit, and I went, he's going like, when you blow like that, and she goes, I was doing the dishes yesterday, and something went right in my ear, and my hair moved. And I thought, is that you? And I'm like, so he's using today to tell you yes, And she goes, oh my
Wow.
God. So now that will be his sign. I go, I would lay money on that one. Yeah, I would. Trust it,
Right. I
trust
got
it.
chills hearing
So
that. Yeah.
sometimes it's in the simplest ways and sense, and you
Okay.
just gotta trust
Wow.
it. I tell people,
That's so
don't say,
cool.
give me a sign, please send me signs, or, whether it's your loved ones, or is it, you need something from your higher power. Just say, thank you for the signs you are giving me today. I've
Mm.
even said, you might have to hit me over the head with one of them, but I'm grateful for it, because sometimes that's when you need it a little more than another time. You can say that, and it's your energy field, not the sign. They're going to come in. They're around. They're
Yeah,
always going
no,
to be there. They're always going to be there.
I love that. And I think something beautiful that you're bringing into this conversation is also the intention of our words, the intention of
Mm.
the energy behind that. Instead of saying it this way, say that way. Don't say, breath work, breath awareness. Those things are keys and codes to the matrix, I like to call it, right?
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Yes,
because,
they
right? Yeah, because we're in these systems and programming, and it's nothing scary like the movie, but that is a metaphor to, some sort of
are. Hmm.
way that we're living right now. Because in order to fit into society, we had to do this or that, or, that's how we were taught. And
Hmm.
a lot of people that didn't fit into those molds, awaken and are the
Never fit the mold.
trailblazers. Yeah, exactly. They're trailblazers, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, maybe you've felt weird your whole life, right? Like I sure
Hmm.
have. But you put on a facade to fit in. And now that this is becoming more mainstream as we are able to share these things on social media, right, and connect with one another, I think a lot of us are becoming even more curious and aware. So it's really cool how all of this is coming through.
Hmm.
And yeah,
That's a
how
good
is,
point
yeah,
because, technology, some people say it's ruining the species, it's destroying the species. And I said, no, you know, technology has allowed us, my work is 85% Zoom, remote sessions, and then I have, I'm building a in-person clientele where I am now for the last 5 years, definitely, but it is 85% remote. And so I see it isn't the technology, it's when it was right after 9/11. And I remember, and back, that's how long that was. And I remember saying, God, why are we here now? Again, as a species, we're going back into war. We're destroying, we're crossing borders that we never thought would get crossed. I don't think America ever thought that would happen. And I remember putting that out there and just my cells hurt. Like that's how I felt. It was
yeah,
probably only a few days after. And I remember feeling every cell in my body hurts. This is not good. It's not just not visually what we saw and felt. It's inner. There was something bigger breaking. The matrix was, I don't know what you would want to call it. And I remember the next day, and this is important, I think, for people to understand. I put it out there, and truly, do I expect an answer immediately? No. Do I get them immediately? Sometimes yes. But this was 24 hours later, doing the dishes, just gazing out the window, not thinking of that thought. And my son was only a baby then, so I was kind of thinking a lot about him and the world. But in that moment, I wasn't. And I remember hearing these words. And I get this feeling if I'm going to get a message when I'm not like actually in session with someone, which then I'm preparing for it. But this was just
yeah,
washing the dishes, and it was this feeling I get. It's a little emotional, almost a little like anxiousness, very slight. That's why I tell people
mm,
anxiety is your frequency going up. Not, that's a conversation. So I felt it and I went and I started to see things and a gold light go by. And then the voices came. And the voice said, "You have evolved as a species technically, but not spiritually. You are now in the consequence of this." And I went, "Oh my God, my question yesterday. They're answering. I hear it and I heard it. And I heard it again. It repeated. You've evolved as a species technically, but not spiritually.
wow,
You are in the consequence." And I remember thinking, little me to talk back to the universe, well, I get that. I get it, but I don't like it. I'm not gonna
right,
lie. I said it just
right.
like that. It doesn't make me feel any better. And then
Wow,
I heard that is what Earth is for. And but I do know that I also felt that it wasn't supposed to get as low as it's gotten. I do know that.
yeah,
I know that we were supposed to evolve spiritually. And when you go back to the definition of what I said spiritually or spirituality really is, it's an intuitive connection, it's compassion, it's connectedness, it's coping skills, it's creative expression, which would hopefully be your abundance, how you want to be creative and love what you do every day. And then it just, oh man, I don't ever ask why. I have not asked
mm,
why is this happening? Why did this happen since that moment? Since that was what, 20 something years ago? I don't,
yeah,
because it answers the question. And it's not the technology, it's the use of it and the abuse of it, and not really realizing that that technology came from a divine intelligence
yeah.
and it has downloaded and it's downloading to all of us. You know what I mean? And we all have access. Some are going to use it in different ways, and that's, I think, answers a lot.
No, I think that's so beautiful. Excuse me. And that download that you got is, it really hits home. Um,
Hmm.
and I think this all comes back down to, and I mean, it's in every ancient text, right? There's some sort of spiritual battle happening on this planet, and it's been happening for a very long time.
Hmm.
And we're seeing a lot of it right now because we're awakening. So the fact that we can even notice it is huge. That's
Hmm. Yes.
that's the first step. And there's people, in working in the community as intuitives like us that are, just really encouraging other people to follow their true self. And once we're all in alignment with that, it really changes the frequency of the planet. So
Absolutely.
if you're out there feeling helpless, thinking you can't do anything, you can by working on yourself. If
Hmm.
it that will change the whole planet. And I think there is a spiritual revolution happening. It's like I
Absolutely.
feel like, like in ancient times, those drums beating, like
Hmm.
almost like Native American drums.
Hmm.
I've been feeling those rumbles this year energetically on the planet.
They're, the vibration, it's like the bass, it's there. I think in some way it's grounding and protecting as much as it possibly can.
Yeah.
They can't save us. We got to save ourselves, if you will. And that's what I mean. People who walk in the awareness, all you can do is keep sharing light, keep raising raise your children in this way because they're the ones that are going to maybe undo the messes that have been evolved to what we're living in right now. And it's sad, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, I'm not trying to be because I always believe in the light, and the positive. But there is real, when people say, well, that woo-woo stuff, I said, I'm as about unwoo-woo as there is. I'm so grounded, it's scary
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can see the spiritual warfare that's going on,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
I
think about
know.
it. We're at war over God still. Who are we? Primitive or what?
I
And we're
mean,
not. Me and you aren't, and many of the
yeah.
listeners aren't.
Yeah.
But peoples are at war over in their belief systems still. When it's
Yes.
you're all going to walk on the same, vibration, and there's different vibrations in the vibration up there. I've seen that, so it's like so interesting.
That is so interesting. I feel like the whole reason why people are scared, though, is because they're afraid of the unknown. And that's how people are controlled. And that's what stems this fear. And that's why we rely on things outside of ourselves because it's comfy, it keeps us safe, right? But we're,
Hmm.
like you said, we're starting from the base, we're redoing the foundation. And
Mm,
that
there it
is
is.
why it feels so tense and dense right now on the planet. So,
Hmm.
because we're doing a lot of the groundwork. And if you think of your root chakra, right? Like that's like your connection to the earth. Excuse me,
Hmm.
earth. That's where we really ground into the planet. And that's, when
Absolutely.
I do guided meditations, that's where I start because before we go up into these beautiful realms and things like that, we have to stay grounded.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
and that's where we can see a lot of the crazy stuff, the chaos.
Hmm.
And then we're witnessing it and it looks insane. So,
Hmm.
it's just a interesting time on the planet to be alive. But we chose this
That's
and
exactly.
it's
That's what
also
I
kind of
I tell
fun.
myself that too. We knew we could. We knew we could. We knew we could.
We knew we could, and I think we're having a little bit fun while we're here. Like, we
Hmm.
have to embrace these energies and realize, like, zoom out and see what's happening. There's a lot of people awakening. There's a lot of people questioning things.
Hmm.
And it's really hard to keep everyone from really bursting out and saying it. So it's slowly creeping out there. But
Hmm. Yeah,
it's just kind
it
of
is.
continuing to do the work. The more we do the
Hmm.
inner work, it's just gonna raise our vibration and energy, like you've mentioned, and attract things.
Hmm.
And I mean, you've said so many things about the spirit realm. There's so many different intricacies and layers to it. It's
Mm.
it's really just a beautiful process. But we're always supported,
Yes,
you
always.
know.
And that's something, when a lot of people talk about feeling lonely lately. I'm getting that wave of them. So I feel lonely. I feel lonely, whether they're in relationships, out of relationships, in between
Mm,
relationships, it doesn't matter. I go, you're lonely. That's a true sign that you're not as connected to your higher self or spirit as you could be. So set the intention, do something, devote to something every day. Do a 5-minute meditation, the heart chakra. Your most powerful source of energy is here. Don't climb the ladder and try to go up and have an experience. Sit in the inner light of your heart. That's where my inner light is the umbrella of everything I do because it showed me when I first started, well, what do I call my work? Now I'm really getting, established. You need a name. I guess you think you need a name. And I didn't want to just be my name. So, and I remember feeling the light in my heart, like, because I always felt that. And that could be some traditional teaching from from Jesus with the Sacred Heart, Mother Mary. You know, you see the fire in the heart. And I really didn't come to me in that moment when I did that. Noticed that like 10 years later, like, duh. And Buddha talks about the light
Oh,
within, you know, the light
yeah.
within, the purple flame, the violet flame. It's all in our face. So my
Wow.
work became the inner light teachings because everything I do, every meditation, you'll hear that if you download my meditations, will be connected to your inner light activation first. So your divine downloads just flow through that beautiful third eye that's going to see beyond what you see down here. And it's that simple,
It
isn't
really is that simple. Hey,
it?
folks, it's that simple.
I remember when
All
it
you
didn't
need is your
seem
inner,
simple, but it
honestly,
does.
all you need is your inner light. And as you were saying that, when I was taught to meditate, my mom initiated me when I was 12 years old. She told me to, in the center of my heart, visualize a lotus with, the specific deity that I was meditating
Hmm.
on and in your
Hmm.
heart, like always in your heart. So when I'd meditate, I would do a mantra 108 times and just sit there before school, like for 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, but I just did it
And
every
aren't you
single
glad
day.
she did that to you
Oh
now?
my gosh. Well, it got me to the place I am now, so thank
Hmm.
goodness. But it was always about that heart, right?
Hmm.
But that practice takes you a long way, just 5 minutes a day. Like,
Yeah. 5 minutes, I tell
yeah.
people, you got 5 minutes. I don't care if you're sipping, having coffee, looking out the window, play the meditation or breathe and go in. Put your hand here, bring attention to it. Say thank you. Say, I love you. I love me. Guide me today. Thank you for guiding me today. I always say put it in a clear intention, not a question, because questions bring a question, back to you. So
Okay.
you want to put it out clear.
Yes.
I'm grateful
Yes.
for the light within. Thank you for guiding me today. You know what I mean? And through this
Mm,
situation, if you're thinking about a situation, don't keep giving it energy with all the lack and all the hard stuff. Take a breath, time that 5 minutes, maybe. That's something I tell people. If you're thinking negative, when you look at the word negative, and I'll never forget when this revealed itself to me, was negative is negate of light. Oh, add light. Duh. Right? I'm like, duh. I mean, these awarenesses come to me and I do laugh because I'm like, oh, negate of light. Add light.
wow.
It's not negative. So I tell people, if you're at work, oh, my negative, all these people are so negative, or your partner's negative. I'm like, no, they're negative light. Why don't you pat yourself on the back that you feel their lower vibration and sit and send light? I send you light, I set you free, or something, because you're just
Wow.
energizing the negative. Two negatives aren't going to make that positive.
Wow. That is so beautiful.
Negative light.
I hope everyone heard
Hmm.
that very clearly because that can shift. This is like things like this, changing how you think and how you speak and how you interact with others. This is how major shifts happen in your life. Like
Hmm.
but it's that simple. We have to kind of roll it back, I think, to allowing ourselves to have that time and be really intentional with how we use our words. And then you'll see your reality change and shift.
And it
I'm
doesn't
sure
take
you've,
long. It doesn't
yeah.
take long. I always say sometimes I have the 3 second, 3 minute, 3 hour, 3 day, 3 week rule. And it shouldn't be more than 3 weeks, or you need to reevaluate how you're looking at things. Nothing should take more than 3 weeks. Sometimes we need time
Mm,
for the physical world to catch up.
right.
People
Yeah.
will do that in relationships. Well, I ended it, a month ago and I'm ready for something new. And I'm like, and you've been doing that for 7 years. You got to give the universe give it some time to manifest here, okay? You're
Mm-hmm.
on demand. And sometimes things do come like that, but always within 3 weeks, you get something. I always tell, and that's the longest.
I
There's
love
something about
that.
the threes. I don't know. It's always 3 seconds, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 months, 3 weeks. 3 months, I don't know. I don't got anybody in doing manifesting things. I say 3 months is, there's things that might have to be out further than that, but you should get your signs and your definite, you know, clues that things are moving within 3 days, 3 weeks.
Wow. That's
No doubt.
amazing.
Yeah,
And all
no
you have
doubt.
to do is, set that intention
Hmm.
to the universe.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That,
powerful stuff.
yeah, it really
Everything is
is.
in motion very powerfully right now and very quick. There's no time in energy. There's no time in spirit world. There's no time in this. So things are happening, and it's, the positive and the not and the negative light stuff too. It's not exempt,
Right, right. We
which,
have to exist with both, but then also
yeah.
know that we can manifest, we can
Mm-hmm.
create. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
have, we have control over in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our
We
how
do.
we
We do.
act.
And
Yeah.
isn't it almost scary to think that and say that? It's almost like
Yeah.
it's like, wow, we do have control over that in a way. Yeah, I guess we do. And we have to say,
Hmm.
yes, we do, because
Instead
it
of
is,
other people,
yeah.
relying on them, it's all
Hmm.
within us. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you
So,
blame them. If you rely on them, you're going to blame them.
no, yeah,
So if you rely on
exactly.
yourself and your own higher power as, the leader, the stage comes to mind. You're the writer, you're the director, you're the producer, you're the actor, and you are the audience. So
Yes.
play the roles, put yourself in each role, go through something. But the audience is where the judge comes in, or the judgment of self and being hard on yourself. But get out there and be creative and express yourself. But remember, you wrote the story. And if you don't remember that, you are going to blame others. So that's kind of a new metaphor I just got. So that's cool. Thank you.
I absolutely love that. I love
Hmm.
that. I love that. The message here is it's time to take your power back, and it's time to really lead in a way that you perhaps never have before, right? But if you get
True.
any inspiration out of this conversation, I think whoever is listening, maybe there's one person, maybe it's multiple people, I think they needed to hear some sort of push from the universe.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this is your sign.
Yeah, this is your sign. This is your cardinal. This is your coin. This is
Exactly, exactly. But
it.
oh my gosh, Beth, this has been so much fun. Can you just let us know a little bit about your offerings, what you have out there? I know you mentioned your meditations, which I'll definitely have linked below, but what else do you have?
Um, okay, so yeah, if you go to the website, put in your email address, and trust me, I don't over email. If anything, I should do more. And you'll get your 5 downloads immediately. Okay, and then you'll be updated. And I have online events that are free, some of them are obviously paid events, but you'll be notified of those once a month or twice a month, whatever it is, the most. Um, the other thing is if I can, I love to share the link to my Heart and Soul Journal to Love, which is a digital file. It is hard copy. It is on my website, but I could share the digital copy. I don't know if there's a way for you to get it to your people if I share it to you. And then they can take themselves through this little journal to love. It's a very simple little journal. I don't even want to call it a workbook, because it's not work. A little prompts, take a breath, rewrite this mantra 3 times, and you can do it right on your computer. And I'd love to share that with the audience, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so if I
I think
send
we
you
can
the
find a
link, you
way.
could make that, yeah.
Yeah, I'll add it to
And
this. Wow, thank
okay,
you.
yeah. So they'll be getting, those are some things I could give, the audience, and it helps again get you in tune with your spirit of who you are. And then of course on my website I do have, a virtual Spirit Speaks coming up, and I believe that's July 23rd. And that's,
Okay.
that event is July 23rd at 7 p.m. And that is, where I do a talk on spirit communication, and then I go in and do messages to who's ever on. And sometimes there's 10 and sometimes there's 40. I never know how many are coming on. It just depends. So, but yeah, it's a nice that's the next online event coming up. And then of course in my area of Treasure Coast, Florida, there's events always, and they're on the website. So yeah, I'd
Okay,
love.
awesome. And do you offer in-person or distant sessions?
Yep,
Okay.
I do virtual, Zoom, I do FaceTime, I do in person. I have a little office
Okay.
in my home, and I
Awesome.
have a couple of, I'm in Vero Beach. Any Vero Beachers, I'm at Spark of Divine twice a month, first Wednesday, second Friday, doing sessions. I also do their psychic fairs. And there's a couple places down here in Stuart, Florida, Salt of the Earth. I'm there every fourth Thursday doing meditation and breathing in the salt room, and then I do messages for the group, and it's only limited to 8 because it is a salt room and there's only so many chairs, but it's such a beautiful experience. And that's down in Stuart, Florida. So that's all on my website.
Awesome. Wow, you have
Lots
so
going
many
on, and I have
offerings.
books,
I love this,
books.
Beth.
I have online courses. Spiritual RX is a really good program right now where I'm offering 4 sessions to be, paid up front, and you can use those 4 sessions within 8 months. So for someone who wants to do a reading and then two
Okay.
months later, maybe do a personalized meditation for goals, and then maybe do a healing. But you can use, all four in 1 month, one a week if you want. So it's a nice little series with a nice little gratitude, discount. So it's a good savings. I've had a lot of people signing up for it, so I'm really excited. And that's spiritual RX, spiritual prescription.
I love it. Oh
Don't
my
get me
gosh. The
going on that
intention with
topic.
all, yeah, I
Yeah.
know. We could go so many
There's a
different
lot.
ways. I
Yeah.
know.
So
Well,
my
we should
website,
definitely do this again
yeah.
because
Yeah,
there's a
I would
lot of
love to.
areas we can dive back into as well. But
Hmm.
awesome. Well, Beth, thank you so much for sharing your magic with us today. I really, really,
Oh,
truly appreciate it.
thank you for having me and for all you're doing and helping so many. It's
Of
awesome.
course. Oh, I'm so
And I'm going to
glad.
send you Donald's journey.
Okay, perfect. Well,
Hmm.
all right, guys, we'll see you next time. Namaste. Guys, welcome back to the Omlay. I'm Megan Kieran, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Beth Lynch. She is the founder of Inner Light
I hope you
Teaching.
enjoyed this
She is an
episode.
author, she
Please
is a
check out my
psychic medium,
socials
and she
at The
is a
Omway on
teacher.
Instagram,
Welcome, Beth.
TikTok,
Well,
YouTube,
thank you for
and
having me. I'm excited
Spotify.
to be on
You
here
can also
today.
find me at
I'm so happy that you
theomlight.com. Sessions are
resonated with
now
the
open and
podcast, and I think
available.
there's some really
One-on-one
important
sessions are super
messages
helpful
that are
for
going to
anything
come
you
through
may
our
be going through in
conversation.
your life
Yes.
to help you feel
So
more
I just want
aligned
to
and
start
clear.
with your spiritual background, your spiritual journey. How did